What's up, guys? Today we're going to be taking a look at this story just to talk a little bit about the security of Signal, and I have another story as well on Signal. So we're going to be looking at two today. This one's fresh from yesterday. Let's take a look into this case study on how Signal messages were recovered from a defendant's iPhone. Now, regardless, while I don't support criminal activity, you can learn a lot about privacy and security just by simply studying cases like this. So we can use this to our advantage to further harden our devices. Let's take a look. So apparently the FBI was able to pull the Signal messages from a defendant's phone. And this was after that defendant had deleted the application. So they completely removed Signal. And they must have assumed that when they removed Signal, that all the messages would no longer be there. Not exactly. Now, they tapped into iPhone's notification database, and this is where they found alerts containing the incoming messages the user received. So it's important to note that while there is a recoverable amount of Signal messages, it is not all of them. It is the incoming messages that are using push notifications. And Signal also has a way you can actually block this. So you have to actually enable it if you are interested in further hardening your Signal device. And I also covered the SignalGate story, which mentioned right here, about a third-party Israeli-connected Signal clone that was being used to talk about potential war plans just last year. So I have a video on that if you're interested in checking it out. So of course, Signal uses end-to-end encryption, so a lot of people just assume that that information, those messages, are not recoverable. But Signal uses push notifications unless you disable it. So this is something that's also been in the news the last couple of years, how push notifications can allow for the extraction of valuable metadata. This is not a new topic, but this particular case study is a new story. So the FBI recently recovered Signal messages from an iPhone. Now in this particular case, it looks like people were vandalizing property, setting off fireworks at an ICE detention facility, and even an officer was shot in the neck. I mean, obviously horrible, don't support any of that kind of stuff, but we're here for the forensic end of it. According to a supporter, one of the defendants who took notes learned that any app that has permission to show the previews and alerts on the lock screen will save those into the internal memory. So, of course, using tools such as Celebrite, which is one example where they do a forensic extraction and analysis on devices like the iPhone, devices like Android, and in this particular case, the way iPhone uses their push notifications, it allowed it to be retrieved. So even though the person had removed Signal, these incoming notifications were able to be received. So it isn't the outgoing messages. It's not the messages of the user. It's only the messages that come as a push notification. And on the lock screen, now keep this in mind, I always tell you that if you want real security, you're not going to use biometrics. Because another thing, let's jump over here for a moment. So this particular one, they're seeing that they still have their notifications coming up even when they have it disabled on lock screen. Well, it is quite possible they were using something like Face ID. So something like that could unlock it quite quickly, allowing those messages to be seen. So using biometrics, not only is it not even constitutionally protected under the Fifth Amendment, it's also a risk just in general, and vulnerabilities in biometric scanners have occurred in the past where using the wrong person can actually unlock a phone under some cases. Some years back, I recall reading about one of those vulnerabilities. Now, it does mention in this article how to stop it for you. So if you want to harden your Signal messenger, and think about this, this doesn't just apply to a law enforcement party. This could be a thief who gets your phone, somebody who has the technical experience to try and extract your sensitive messages. I mean, it could be bank information, it could be sensitive credentials. There are so many things that could come as incoming push notifications. So what you may want to do if you want a more hardened Signal Messenger is to go into your Signal app, then go to settings, and under notification content choose no name or content to block all of these data alerts. Now it gives you some other details if you want to toggle it a little bit, but just keep this in mind. When we're talking about device security, it's not just about the hardening you add, it's about the things you subtract as well, because every single feature that you have enabled has a potential for a vulnerability. So the more things you enable, sometimes less is more. The more things you have enabled, the more features you're taking advantage of, the more potential for some form of device compromise in one way or another. And taking a look over here, we can see that the timing is quite impeccable because it looks like they just made a change to push notification related stuff. So it might be related, but it might not. Interesting timing. Same day this was posted as the stories came out. Now, here's another article that kind of gives you an example. This is an older article though. My earlier reference is potentially more accurate, but here are some ways that you can hide Signal message previews from a locked screen. You basically want to disable that on a lock screen, and like I mentioned, if you're using something like Face ID, well, if you're at a party and you somehow pass out, you drank too much or something like that, somebody could hold your phone up to your face to unlock it, and you don't want that. So I do always suggest going with something outside of biometrics for security. Now, I want to also finish up with this story. This was a month ago. The earlier story was from just yesterday, but this is 1 month ago, and actually was happening across Signal, especially targeting those who are involved in government, those who are, if you work for the government, if you work as civil servants, if you're in the military, if you're a journalist, these are some of the main targets. But of course, anyone can potentially become a target, especially if you're connected to someone who's a target. So sometimes people are targeted not just for themselves and the interests they may hold, but also their friends and family, because sometimes you'll see somebody targeted who just happens to be on the contact list, and that can be a doorway into accessing and exploiting the other contacts, because if you can assume their identity, you could possibly trick them. But in this particular story, it's just about a fake Signal support bot. So basically, a message comes up on Signal that is saying that you need to hand over your linked device PIN, and that way they can create a hidden linked device, something that you're not aware of, that's able to receive your messages and actually pose as you. So they may call themselves Signal Security Chatbot. Just remember this. In short, do not trust messages that come as a Signal message claiming to be support. Signal does not do that. Signal is not going to send you a message from another Signal account to send you security information and ask for your credentials. So just remember these things today and keep your conversations confidential. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. Make sure to share it to spread awareness with other people who use Signal. Send it to your friends and family. Appreciate you guys sharing this video. Make sure to like it. Don't forget to follow so you don't miss any important stories and upcoming tutorials. And I'll see you guys soon in another video on how to protect your security and privacy. And if you're interested, you can always head over to the IRC chat room. I'll leave it on the blog post and in the description. And I'll see you guys soon in another video on how to protect your security and privacy.